We'd like to get started. Well, good evening all, and welcome to the Village Hall. We did this once a couple years ago during the pandemic, and the room was empty, so it's nice to see the room full. And I'm taking a little bit of Jack's thunder because I want to introduce it because of the terrific milestone the bank is celebrating this year. So hi, and welcome to the 31st Shape of Itasca. And I'd like to take a moment to express our gratitude to Itasca Bank and Trust for their generous sponsorship of this event. This year, Itasca Bank and Trust is celebrating their 70th anniversary, and I'd like to thank them for their continued partnership with the village. They've been wonderful to the village and all the taxing bodies. So Jack, the floor is yours.
Well, thank you for that. And I was not there when the bank started, but I was 5. So it's just been a pleasure to spend our whole lives in Itasca, and many of you have also. Okay, getting started. We'd like to welcome all of you to the 31st Shape of Itasca Town Meeting. I am Jack Mensching from Itasca Bank and Trust Company, and I will act as the moderator of this forum. Our format will be similar to past years. Each speaker will have approximately 5 minutes to talk about their recent accomplishments and the future plans of their organization. The mayor always gets extra time on that because they have the most to talk about most years. After everyone's had an opportunity to speak, we'll entertain questions from you, the audience. For those of you that are here, please write out your cards and pass them to the aisle, hold them up. We've got people in the audience, they'll come pick them up and they'll get them up to us here. We need lots of questions because that's what will make the evening a success. I will then read the questions so that everyone may hear them and direct them to the proper party. If there are multiple questions on the same subject, we'll try to group them together to help speed the evening along. We'll try to answer all of your questions if time permits. The only thing that we ask is the questions be non-political and not get personal or into personal information. Questions of that kind will not be read because they're not appropriate for this type of a forum. There's been many events in the village since our last meeting. We should have lots of good questions. Our speakers tonight are going to be Linda Ianni, President of Itasca Park District, Chris Kunze, President, Itasca Fire Protection District, Marty Lundeen, Board President, Itasca School District 10, Board of Education, and Paul Nelson, President, the Itasca Community Library, and finally, Jeff Prine, Mayor for the Village of Itasca. Many of our speakers have brought people from their organizations to handle any questions which may be technical. We ask that they use the microphones. And they're seated on both sides of us up here. Our first speaker tonight is Linda Ianni. She's president of the Itasca Park District. She's been on the board for 28 years, been president for 20, and lived in Itasca for 39. Linda? You're 40. You were here when you were 1.
I don't know where these numbers come from. I think you're making them up. Okay. Good evening. I'd like to welcome all. I'm glad everyone's here tonight because the last time we did it from here, it was a Zoom session. So this is nice to have people here. So when you're looking out, you're really looking at people, not at a camera. So here with me tonight are Commissioners Vice President Keith McClellan, Dan Kompanowski, and Jeff Craven. I know they're sitting in the row in the back. If you just want to raise your hands, there the 3 of them are. Thank you. Not able to attend tonight is Dave Hansen. Also present is our Executive Director, Mary Fran Leno. She's here. And we have Nathan Kinzinger as our Superintendent of Finance, HR, and IT. We have Lily Medina. She's our new Marketing and Communications Superintendent. And we have Matt Alexander. He's our Superintendent of Buildings and Parks. They're all sitting together too. So, as I usually do, I'd like to start with our financial situation. 43% of our operating budget comes from taxes and 57% from fees, programs, grants, and sponsorships. We have an operating budget for the 2023-24 of $7,135,546.37. Now that's the biggest number I have ever seen in all these years. So We had a very busy year, and this coming year will be the same. Starting last summer, our pool was running at full capacity after the COVID restrictions. We completed the grant project of rebuilding the zero-depth kiddie pool and also opened the new bathhouse. It is a beautiful addition to the water park. And with the wonderful weather we had last summer, we had a great pool season. As our winter was very mild, our ice rink was opened only for 2 days. That was a big disappointment, let me tell you. But, but there's an advantage when you don't have that snow and cold. So due to that warm weather and the lack of plowing, shoveling, and salting, our maintenance staff was able to replace the dance room floor and mirrors and bars, and it turned into a real dance studio. They remodeled the kids' club room, replaced carpet, tiled walls, added closet space, and replaced our digital sign. They also built the trophy case for our extremely talented dance team. Most of the work was done on the second floor. We received a $600,000 OSLED grant for the Ray Franzen Bird Sanctuary and Softball Complex. We're planning to go to bid this summer with the 2024 completion. Our biggest venture in partnership with the Village of Itasca was the addition of the Winter Wonderland in Usher Park. I want to thank everyone who visited the displays, sat on Santa's lap, mailed him letters, and strolled through the park. The beautiful lit displays certainly turned Usher Park into a winter wonderland. With the generous sponsorships we received, we'll be able to add a couple new features next year. The Franzen tennis courts are under construction, and weather permitting, the project will be done by the end of next month. There will now be 1 tennis court and 2 pickleball courts. I know pickleball has become very popular, and so we're putting it outside for a couple courts. And we also have pickleball in the gym at night during the week. The Benson Park Grant Project will hopefully start midsummer, where we'll replace the courts, the shelter, upgrade the soccer fields, convert the playground to artificial turf, and add a wheelchair swing. Whenever there is a grant available that helps our park district, we apply for it. Just during the last 3 years, we have received over $1,775,000 in grant money. And we have to attribute that to our executive director, who is a great grant writer. You might want to hire her out there. There are 3 2023-24 grant cycles we're looking to apply for. The Nature Center Boardwalk replacement was completed this week, and this was part of a $375,000 grant we received. Still remaining to that project is the new exterior signage and the Birds of Prey interactive display. Now for the upcoming year. This is the big ones here. Our plans are for the Recreational and Fitness Center roof and HVAC replacement project, the Recreational Center and Fitness Center elevator project, and the Fitness Center revitalization project, which includes redoing equipment and flooring overhaul. Some of this equipment is from 1991, and these are some big financial projects we have. But it is taking place in the building, which is the core of the Park District. As you ask us questions, I have a question for hopefully many of you. How many of you were members of the Itasca Dolphin swim team, have children or grandchildren on the team? One, oh, okay, very good, glad to see that. This year is the 50th anniversary of the Dolphins. The swim team and Coach Dan Whitevin are this year's Memorial Parade Grand Marshals. There are some swimmers that have been on a conference winning team their whole time that they've been with the Dolphins, that they have won 23 straight years of conference, the title. There were 2 years, if you look in the on pages 14 and 15, you will see the schedule of all the conferences that the Dolphins are in. The 2 that are listed for 20 and 21 did not take place due to COVID. But if you add up all the other ones in a row, there were 23. So you've got to give those kids and parents a lot of credit. So I'm going to go off script for a little bit about the swim team. You know, school lets out June 1st. The first practice starts May 30th. So these kids, the first one's in the evening, but once you go Monday through Friday, every morning the older kids start at 6:30. They're in the pool for 2 hours practicing, then the younger kids, 10 and under, come in. So their summer is taken from school right into the swim team practice. And they're there 5 days a week. And then they have conferences. And then they have all other special events that they partake in. So you've got to give these kids a lot of credit. And you have to give the parents the same credit. They get up and they get their kids out there, the ones who can't take their bikes or walk. So they're up at 6:30 in their summer vacation. So I got to give the swim team a big round of applause. Please join me. Yes. So, in conjunction with that, there will be a reunion swim team pool party on July 8th. If you or anyone you know has been a part of the team as a swimmer, coach, parent, volunteer, or staff in the past 50 years now, we're not just talking the last few years, but so you've had to do the math. At 18, which is the oldest, and add 50 years, 68 years old, they're going to be showing up for this party. But if you know anyone who hasn't contacted, please call the Park District and give them a contact information so they can get the invite. And have them bring their suits, and we'll see if they still enjoy swimming. The pool will open on Memorial Day weekend if the weather permits, and that's always, you don't know. And the Memorial Day parade is Monday, the 29th. Because of construction on the north side again this year, the parade will take place on the south side at Washington and Princeton, starting at 9:30. The Memorial Day ceremony will take place in Usher Park after the parade. We have our 6 concerts in the park series, as we always do. Itasca Fest is at Washington Park again, and we are having the Parks Parties. That was something new we did last year. And all that information is in the brochure. This brochure was sent out to every household in town. So you'll find all sorts of information on programs, events, and happenings through the Park District and through the community. As always, we meet on the 3rd Monday of the month at 6:15 at the Rec Center, and citizens to be heard are always welcomed. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. You'll be pleased to know some of us has our suits on up here. So, our next speaker is Chris Coonsey. He is the board president, Itasca Fire Protection District. He's been on the board for 17 years, been president for 9 years, and lived in town for 20. Chris?
Thank you, Jack. Good evening, and thank you for being here tonight. With me this evening is Chief Jack Schneidwin and fellow trustees John Carney and Sean McDonald. The last year's brought a number of positive changes to the district, so let me begin by recapping our 4 main goals from last year's plan, which were onboarding Chief Schneidwin, the station renovation, Haymarket, and the Canadian Pacific Kansas City Southern Rail impact. In May of last year, Chief Schneidwin was sworn in as the new chief officer for the district, and Jack brought with him a level of leadership and operational depth that he immediately made a point of meeting with the district members individually to gain an understanding of their concerns. That information allowed Jack to design and implement a new, very vigorous training program that is focused on helping our team members increase their skill levels and knowledge depth. Several months into his first year, Jack presented to the board a new command structure which promoted our 3 lieutenants to shift commanders, expanding their roles and responsibilities, and allowed the district to defer the hiring of a deputy chief. Additionally, Jack has significantly strengthened the district's working relationships with Elk Grove to the north and Roselle to the west. That allows our personnel to make use of Elk Grove's state-of-the-art training tower, as well as expanding the joint district training opportunities, one of which we had today, and I think Jack will probably talk about that in a minute. Now that we're out of COVID restrictions, Jack is also focused on making sure that the district re-engages with us as village residents. Several of those activities have already included an open house, which we held in October of last year. We had over 400 visitors attending, many of them children, and we had an opportunity to meet our team members, operate hose lines, see a live fire demonstration, and experience the smoke safety trailer. Additionally, we implemented a home safety review with the help of Itasca Bank, and have had a tremendous response from residents. Jack has also been an effective spokesman for the district as regards fire and emergency services impacted by the railroad merger, as well as working with our state and federal representatives. I'm also pleased to say that working with Representative Raja Krishnamurti's office, we applied for and have passed the first 2 hurdles for a federal grant to help with the district expenses associated with the railroad merger. In the fall of '21, we hired 6 new firefighter medics to fill positions open due to retirement, and I'm pleased to say that 5 of the 6 successfully completed their first-year probationary period and were sworn in last year. One of our goals last year, actually last 2 years, has been a much-needed update to the existing station. Upon learning of the proposed railroad merger and the potential impact, both services and cost-wise, the board decided to put this project on hold until we had a better chance to evaluate what our solutions were going to be to the railroad merger. And I'll talk a little bit further about this issue in the briefing. Regarding Haymarket, I'm sure you know, if you maybe remember, the suit was filed in January of '22 against the village, the school, and fire districts. So because it's currently under litigation, it wouldn't be appropriate for me to comment right now why it proceeds through the courts. And finally, the proposed Canadian Pacific and Kansas City Southern merger was approved earlier this year. And as residents, we can expect and are already experiencing significant increase in rail traffic that carries the very real potential to impact emergency service response times as well as our everyday traffic flow. So to ensure continued current service levels to the north side of the village, we began developing a plan last November to minimize the impact of the merger. So with that segue for the coming year, one of our main goals will include adding a fire station on the north side of the railroad tracks to house equipment and personnel to ensure uninterrupted EMS services to our north side residents. Because of the length of time to construct a permanent facility, the plan does include a temporary station. And I'm very pleased to inform you that effective in August of this year, we will be repositioning equipment and personnel at that temporary station. That station will be located at the Public Works Facility on Prospect Road while we continue efforts to secure land as we look to build the permanent station. I also want to thank Mayor Prine, Village Administrator Carrie Ann Ergo, Mike Subers at Public Works, who worked with Chief Schneidwin and Trustee McDonald to provide this solution for our temporary needs. You do not see that in many villages and/or districts working that closely together, so thank all of you. The full plan for the dealing with the merger is far more detailed than I have time to explain in this brief summary, so we'll be glad to answer any questions you may have during the Q&A period. Chief Schneidwin will also continue to lead the development and training of the district officers, firefighter medics, and the administrative staff to reach our goal of being the best fire district in this state. As regards our current main fire station, as I mentioned earlier, because of the need to add a north station, we scaled back our plans to remodel, which those plans now only include an update of the crew's quarters, a new roof, which we badly need, insulation of the exterior offices, which have no insulation in the outside walls, as well as replacing windows and other modifications to improve the look and usability of the station. As I close my remarks, as always, the district will continue to be involved in community activities. Upcoming, we have the Memorial Day Parade, the Highland Games in June, July 4th fireworks, Itasca Fest, July 6th and through the 9th, Oktoberfest in September, and once again, in late September, the district will be hosting an open house, and we'll have more information on that. And then finally, on behalf of all of us at the district, I want to extend our thanks and appreciation to everyone in the village for your turnout at firefighter Frank Nunes's funeral procession earlier this winter. There were over 100 residents, many of them school children and scouts, who'd stood in front of the firehouse in probably the worst day we had all winter as the procession passed, and that did not go unnoticed by both Frank's family and many of the fire districts and departments that were in that procession. And they were amazed at the tremendous show of respect that, as residents, we gave Frank. So thank you. And with that, thank you for your time this evening and the update that I was able to provide on the district's activities.
Thank you, Chris. Our next speaker will be Marty Lundeen. He's the board president at Itasca School District Number 10. He's been on the board for 10 years, been president for 6 years, and lived in town for 24. Marty?
Thank you. With me tonight is Superintendent Craig Bennis over here, board member Jessica Shannon, Casey Amayan, and James Barthel. And I would like to start with saying how much we value our partnerships with the village and Public Works, Park District, Library, Police, and Fire. Thank you, everyone. So we have 6 core goals that our superintendent, Mr. Bennis, uses to build our schools and report back to the board with. I'm going to use those goals to report to you. So you spend about 35% of your property tax bill on District 10, and you should know what you're getting for that money. Our first core goal is student safety and citizenship. So its state-of-the-art safety system installation is progressing well. Itasca PD works in collaboration in choosing and designing the system. Itasca PD continues to be a partner in addressing any significant student behavior concerns. We've stayed open during COVID, and we have moved on while maintaining a safe learning environment. The University of Chicago's School Culture Survey indicates that we have a very strong and positive school cultures for our students, staff, and parents. Our second goal is academic excellence. Excuse me, over 75% of all graduating 8th grade students are placed in honors or advanced math and English language arts classes at Lake Park High School. This reflects many honors and advanced courses for our students. We have renewed all core curriculums. Student Field Learning Passport has started. Planning will continue for next year. This provides for more experiential learning at museums, nature centers, and cultural institutions, more real-world experiences. Student mental health and after COVID, has received more support, with each school adding a student support coordinator, which helps address student mental health, coping, and communication skills. Peacock also added a new health class. We have a parent-informed consent lessons on health and safe body boundaries. We empower kids to set and enforce their boundaries. 1 in 4 girls and 1 in 6 boys have been sexually abused before their 18th birthday, and 90% are abused by someone they trust. No one likes to talk about this. It's horrifying. But talking about it is like shining a light on the cockroaches. They scatter. Itasca children are being taught to be strong and resilient. Groomers get their power from secrecy and silence. Know that Itasca children have the courage to say something. Our new curriculum decisions are based on data and peer-reviewed studies, not opinion or politics. Our curriculum is inquiry-based. Ask a question, solve a problem. Our children are becoming problem solvers by continually adding tools to their toolbox so they can solve more and more problems. They are becoming lifelong learners. Our third goal is physical responsibility. We continue to practice board fiscal responsibility policies and pass a balanced budget, maintain a high bond rating from Moody's, and maintain a healthy, not excessive reserve for emergencies. The board will have a 5-year labor contract to vote on this Wednesday. The contract has healthy market rate adjustments and raises that keep us competitive with neighboring districts for hiring and retention while still being financially responsible to current and future generations of Itasca children. All annual audits have indicated no audit findings, and we practice transparency with our financial affairs. We are one of the only schools in the state that have a budget philosophy. Kelly Adriani and Al Rogers crafted this document about 7 years ago. This document has been the template for D10's ability to update our curriculum, maintain our buildings, stay open during COVID, improve our credit rating, so our last bond offering for current construction could come in at historic low interest rates. And we've stabilized the environment at D10 so we can offer a robust, well-rounded educational experience for our children, including music, art, sports, clubs, field trips, etc. The future children of Itasca, thank you, Kelly and Al. Our fourth goal is community relationships. We continue to value our relationship with all the taxing bodies, police, fire, village, library, park district. We are committed to working with them to serve our students and families. Peacock School hosted approximately 50 seniors from the Itasca Park District Senior Club for lunch and a matinee performance of Fiddler on the Roof Jr. Police provided significant consultation to us with safety and use our schools for their training and safety drills. Our fifth goal is professional learning, to support a culture that enhances professional learning and growth. So the school improvement teams routinely present to one another and receive feedback on how they are improving student learning and the school in general. Instructional leadership development is occurring with teacher leaders and administration. A cohort of teachers are working towards a graduate degree with this. Over 50% of the teachers have recently or currently are working on advanced degrees and additional educational certifications. Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, Dr. Weeks, focuses on staff development. When we support our teachers' learning and development, we impact student learning. Dr. Weeks' work on professional growth has directly impacted the quality of teaching and student learning. Our sixth goal is capital development. The capital bond was passed in 2020 with historically low interest rates. This funding is funding Phase 1, Benson addition for expanded pre-kindergarten and modernized learning spaces for kindergarten, new hub space for student performances, indoor gym, movement therapy, inclement weather recess, and parent meetings. New library for Benson and Franzen. Nature theme on learning spaces with more natural lighting for students, connecting them to the environment more. New science labs at Peacock. A state-of-the-art security and communication system chosen and designed in consultation with Itasca Police. Life safety and capital improvements in piping, walls, and fire safety. And Phase 2 will include more safety features and better entranceways, HVAC work, wall work, energy efficiency, outdoor learning spaces, more developed play areas for recess, and finally, a much-needed Peacock car drop lane improvement with our incredible partnership with the village. I want to touch on the field learning our schools are doing at Benson. They've been to Prairie Center for the Arts, DuPage Children's Museum, Itasca Nature Center, Peacock Middle School Musical, Elmhurst Symphony did an in-house visit. At Franzen, they've been to the Lake Park Play, Outdoor Education, Village Tour, Brookfield Zoo, Klein Creek Farm, Peacock Middle School Musical, and also, again, the Elmhurst Symphony did an in-house visit for Franzen also. In Peacock, the 7th grade has gone to the Technology Center of DuPage, and the Springfield trip is resumed. 8th grade has done a Chicago trip, the Holocaust Museum, and Morton Arboretum. Some of our student accomplishments at Peacock, there's about 100 kids. We did the musical Fiddler on the Roof Junior, the Athletic Conference Championship boys and girls basketball teams, and 3 volleyball teams. Choir competition rating Division II, and we have an active student council. And year-to-date at Peacock, they have done 2,280 hours of community service. That's incredible. So at Franzen, we've had approximately 50 students start band. Approximately 100 students have participated in the Franzen Talent Show. 94 students participated in the Franzen Musical. Our education fair had about 75 participants. And for Benson and Franzen, those kids raised $10,000 for the American Heart Association at the Kids Heart Challenge. So at Benson, also, all second graders have participated in their annual school winter musical, and their cereal box drive collected over 400 boxes for local food pantries. So we've been very busy and always focused on being better. Schools are learning places, and just as students learn, the adults and board are committed to learning and being better for the students and families that we serve. So the board's main job is to hire a superintendent, Mr. Bennis. He builds the school based on the board's direction, and so he does all the hard work that really makes this happen, and he's great at it. He's also responsible for hiring everyone else, and those are the people that create and support the strong learning environment for our children. And I'd like to thank them, the incredible team at District 10, for all that work. Well, thank you.
Do the kids get time to study with all those activities? That's great. Our next speaker is Paul Nelson. He's the board president of the Itasca Community Library. Paul's been on the board for 26 years, been president for 2 years, and been in town for 35. Paul?
Thank you, Jack. Good evening, Itasca. Again, we'd like to thank Itasca Bank and Trust for your generosity and continuing the tradition of supporting the Shape of Itasca every year. And thanks, Jack, for doing the moderating every year. This is great.
Happy to.
Also, I want to introduce the board members are here tonight. We have Olivia Mladenova, Mike Golden, Anya Tronter. I don't think Sharon Laughlin's here, and I don't see Patricia Schumacher. They couldn't make it. But I'd also like to introduce our library director, Ridgway Burns. And I want to thank the board for their dedication in supporting and improving the library, and to our amazing staff, and some of them are here, who make the library a wonderful place to visit and work. So thank you. We at the library are very grateful for your patronage. After the pandemic kept people home and changed the way that the library was able to provide services, patrons have returned to the library and are finding great items to check out. I'm proud to say that Itasca residents are checking out materials at or above pre-pandemic levels. Even without setting foot inside the building, residents are finding books to enjoy. Our e-checkouts have gained steadily 1% to 2% each year and represent about 15% of our circulation. We take our role as an anchor in the community seriously by seeking out services that we can add to this town. This past year, the library staff handled over 500 passport applications, the highest number that we ever handled. And beyond passports, our notary and license plate renewals saw heavy use. I think it's always nicer to talk to a librarian than to wait in line at the post office or the DMV. We've been working hard to keep the library fresh for residents. 2 large projects were completed over the past summer. Most of the library's carpeting was replaced, which required removing almost all the library collections. It was sad to see that 90s teal and purple go, but the refreshed flooring is much improved. Additionally, the exterior doorways and trim received a clean and fresh coat of paint. The marquee went from a faded green to a deep brown hue, so you can see the marquee and make it more legible from Irving Park Road. We've also added more comfortable and modern lounge furniture to create a cozy area to read the newspaper or enjoy coffee from the library's coffee machine. In programming, the library was able to offer programs that residents loved. The youth summer reading program had 524 participants, and the adult club had 121. 15 different community organizations participated in the return of our Christmas tree decorating contest. It was a festive way to celebrate all the special things this community does. A special thanks to Itasca Bank and Trust for supporting that program as well. The library launched a new website this past year. Finding programs, looking for your next new read, or getting information about the library is much easier. The website is more attractive, more mobile friendly, and integrates well with our new room reservation software. We launched a program that allows you to reserve a meeting room or studying room, and you can check room availability without even having to pick up a phone or at any hour of the day. So looking forward, here are the products we hope to tackle in the upcoming year. We've applied for a $50,000 grant from the state to modernize our elevator. I know it's not like the park district, but $50,000 is a lot for us, so anyway. A new elevator with modern electronics should ensure that all our residents can reach the second floor of the library easily. We've begun to plan to refresh our bathrooms in the west meeting room on the library's first floor. So we hope to make those spaces more accessible and attractive. And they are 2 areas that get heavy use, and we hope to make them, and we hope that work on them will entice more residents to even use our library. Looking forward to summer, the library has a wide variety of offerings coming up soon. This year's theme for the Summer Reading Club is Find Your Voice. Visit the library to sign up and have a chance to win a prize thanks to the generosity of the Friends of the Library and to the local businesses. The program starts May 30th and ends July 31st. The youth department will have many great story times, puppets, and more this summer. You'll want to have your kids line up early to find Drew the drummer at the library each day. Take a story walk at the Nature Center for some outside fun. You can choose your own adventure and guide your kids through branching paths to reach the goal. We even have a story time with Ariel, the Little Mermaid herself. She'll be there. For adults, there are some intriguing history programs at the library. Just in time for the 130th anniversary of the Columbia World Exposition in Chicago, Clarence Goodman will share the murder story of H.H. Holmes and how he preyed on the scores of people visiting Chicago in 1893. Tune into the history of Chicago's big role in the early days of radio. Chicago has a hand in the invention of soap operas, adventure serials, and more. Finally, for some special summer treats, you can visit Tree Guy's Pizza Pub for Trivia Night, led by the library on the second Tuesday of every month. Also learn how to slow down, relax, and create some beautiful watercolors. And that's just a taste of all the programs available at the library this summer. So I appreciate this opportunity to inform fellow Itasca residents of all the ways the library is working to further its mission of being a community anchor. Come visit the library. You'll find something for everyone in your family. Thank you all for your support.
Thank you, Paul. And our final speaker before we get to the question and answers, and we can use some more questions, so please feel free to write them and pass them in. Our next speaker is Mayor Jeff Prine, Village of Itasca. Been on the board for 28 years, been mayor for 14, and been in town for 58. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack, and thank you to all of you coming here. The nice big crowd here shows how important your local government is to Itasca, and we appreciate that you're taking interest in it. Before I get started tonight, there are a couple of key people that I want to acknowledge. First, my dad and mom, Tom and Nancy Prine, who've demonstrated a true love and commitment to Itasca through their own public service, and they are both lifelong Itasca residents, starting their 8th decade as Itasca residents, so thank you. And most importantly, my wife, Christy, for her continued love and support year after year, and as she'll say, year after year after year. You mean the world to me, Christy. Thank you. I'd also like to extend my congratulations to the newly elected officials who have taken on the responsibility of serving our community. The village trustees, Brendan Daly, Dino Gavanis, and Ellen Leahy. Park District Commissioners David Hanson and Jeff Craven. Fire District Commissioner John Kearney. Itasca Library Trustees Anya Tronter, Paul Nelson and Mike Golden, and school board members James Bartle, Nicole Distel, and Keetal Patel. So congratulations to all of you. And then I would also like to acknowledge the remaining elected officials from the village that I didn't mention earlier. Trustee Jeff Ianni, Trustee Frank Medeiros, Trustee Patrick Powers, and our village clerk Jody Canidi. So thank you for all you do for the village also. So working together, I believe we can conquer any and every community challenge. I believe we can adapt to change, grow, and thrive, and I believe we can create a better, brighter Itasca for future generations. As mayor, I take great pride in the progress we've made in recent years, but I believe the future holds even greater promise for our community. Last year at this time, I reported that the village had recently adopted a new downtown plan with input from hundreds of people in our community. And this year, I'm happy to report that through hard work and determination, we've moved that promise forward with several major initiatives to transform downtown Itasca. First and foremost, I'm proud to announce that the village has approved its first ever tax increment financing, or TIF district. Through an extensive public process that took nearly a year to complete, the village worked collaboratively with the school district and our other taxing bodies to ensure that they were comfortable with the creation of the TIF, and I am grateful for the support that we received from each and every taxing body. Through the TIF, the village now has an opportunity to financially support downtown development without raising taxes or taking away from other essential services. By leveraging the incremental tax revenues generated by the new development within the district, the village will now see economic investment downtown that would not be possible without a public partnership. And in the end, encouraging new economic growth benefits all of the local governments. Now, one project made possible thanks to the support of the approval of the TIF is the Itasca Station, a luxury 5-story concierge-style residential building that's going to be proposed on the corner of Orchard and Maple Street. It'll have a first-floor restaurant, which will complement 87 new apartments, plus a unique outdoor living area developed by Holiday Properties. The project, which will be considered by the Plan Commission later this month, brings a new energy to downtown Itasca, plus jobs, housing, new retailers to our community. This project will propel forward the village's efforts to promote economic development downtown, and I urge the members of the Plan Commission and the Village Board to give this project their full support. Itasca Station's not the only exciting development downtown. At the May 2nd Village Board meeting, the board approved converting a portion of G.G. Gruber Lane into a public plaza as part of its vision for the downtown plan. While the village is in the initial planning and design phases of the project, the idea is to create a summer outdoor space that is not only beautiful and functional, but also reflects the unique character and identity of our community. This project is part of the village's ongoing efforts to enhance public spaces and create a more livable and connected community. Last year, the village also took the bold step to acquire the vacant coffee shop property at the corner of Irving Park Road and Walnut Street. And this property sat vacant for nearly 2 years as an out-of-state development company determined its best option was to mothball its investment until restaurant demand can return to its pre-COVID levels, which is not expected to occur until 2026 or beyond. In response to feedback received at a community open house, the village embarked on an extensive public process to find a tenant that would fulfill the community's desire to have a unique new gathering spot. After site visits to more than 30 regional eateries and evaluation of 4 finalist applications, the village board approved a long-term lease for a new locally owned coffee and sandwich shop. Today, I'm pleased to announce that Full of Beans plans to open its door to the public by the end of June. The owners are dedicated to creating a warm and welcoming atmosphere for everyone. Full of Beans will be more than just a place to grab a cup of coffee. It'll be a new community spot for all to enjoy, and as they prepare to open, they are currently looking for baristas to join their team. This new eatery will complement longtime staples and other new businesses in the downtown, including Tree Guy's Pizza Pub, Keen's Bakery, Casali's Italian Restaurant, Wine With Me, Fox and Turtle, and Induce Gelato. In addition to Full of Beans, the village has welcomed 28 new businesses to our little town since last year, which demonstrates Itasca's economic strength. Our new businesses represent a wide range of industries, including healthcare, finance, retail, and technology. New businesses continue to choose to invest in Itasca because of its strategic location, strong infrastructure, and supportive business environment. The Village of Itasca is also committed to supporting business growth and helping local businesses thrive. One great example of this is Church Street Brewing, which opened a temporary beer garden last year at Hamilton Lakes. The success of the beer garden has been so great that Church Street has plans to open a second location indoors at the Hamilton Lakes and make the outdoor hop garden a permanent fixture for years to come. This is fantastic news for beer lovers and the local community, as it will provide a fun and social outdoor space for people to enjoy great beer, food, and friends. The Village of Itasca is proud to support local businesses like Church Street Brewing and will continue to work to help local businesses grow and succeed. With remote work, the new normal, the village updated its zoning ordinances to allow data center growth in several business parks throughout the village. NTT Data has begun work on a second building in Itasca and has submitted plans to build a third data center adjacent to their existing facility, which has been operational since 2021. NTT's decision to grow its data center presence in Itasca is a testament to the village's attractiveness as a location for high-tech businesses. Itasca's strong business growth is essential to maintaining and improving services to our residents. In Illinois, communities under 25,000 people, like Itasca, are considered non-home rule. The state limits non-home rule communities' ability to enact laws to protect local towns, regulate businesses, or raise revenues to support local services or improve neighborhoods. Non-home rule towns are dependent on elected officials in Springfield to protect and provide for our communities. And not surprisingly, our state is failing us. Since 2011, the state of Illinois has shorted the Village of Itasca more than $6 million in local government distributive funding, known as the LGDF. That's $6 million in roadway improvements, stormwater fixes, and other infrastructure needs in Itasca that have been deferred, all while costs continue to rise. So let me back up and explain a bit more. In 1969, local governments put their trust in Illinois legislatures and reached a compromise on the imposition of a state income tax. And this compromise was a good thing for taxpayers. Municipalities gave up their authority to impose local income taxes and agreed to allow the state of Illinois to manage local income tax collection. This streamlined income tax collection for residents and lowered tax payments. In exchange, the state agreed to distribute 10% of statewide income tax revenues to communities on a per capita basis to fund local services. The system worked great for more than 40 years. Then in 2011, the state broke its promise and began rating LGDF to fund new state spending initiatives. Last year, the percentage of income tax allocated to local governments was just over 6%. As a result, more than $8 billion that should have come back to towns to invest in communities across Illinois has gone to fund state programs. $8 billion. As a non-home rule community, the village's ability to replace lost LGDF is limited, and we are more reliant on property and sales taxes to fund essential services and infrastructure. The average homeowner in Itasca pays just over $400 per year in property taxes to the village of Itasca, and I want to just make sure that it's clear, that's taxes only to the village, it's not your entire property tax bill. So why? So $400 per year breaks down to $1.10 per day to have 911 answer your calls and dispatch an officer anytime, day or night. That same $1.10 per day is also all you pay in property taxes to have someone take away your garbage and your recycling weekly and your brush and leaves seasonally. That same money is also all that you pay in property taxes to maintain Usher Park and so much more. Now, balancing the budget with the loss of the LGDF revenue is no easy task. But I'm proud to report that thanks to the hard work of our staff and the village board, supporting new economic growth and limiting spending, that the 2023 fiscal budget is once again balanced. The next few days are critical in the fight to restore LGDF, and I encourage all residents in Itasca and cities all across Illinois to contact their state legislators and demand that the state restore LGDF to its full funding of 10%. I encourage your friends, family, and neighbors to make this call too, because every community in our state should have LGDF restored to provide the essential services that keep our communities safe, clean, and thriving. So if you'd like to learn more about LGDF, you can visit investincommunities.org. If the state does not restore LGDF, Itasca will face tough choices moving forward. We will have no choice but to ask residents to pay more to sustain current essential services, or we will have to reduce service levels. As your mayor, I do promise that I will not support any new taxes without any transparent and open communication with our residents. And speaking of communication, the number one question, or should I say complaint, that I get from residents is about our water rates. And according to Village Administrator Ergo, it is the number one comment from residents who call in to the Village Hall as well. Now, residents will be happy to know that just last month, the Village Board once again agreed to forgo a water rate increase. And I know that the cost of water and sewer bills is a sore spot for residents, which is why I encourage the board to keep the water and sewer rates the same this year while we conduct a water rate study. As a result, water and sewer rates will now be frozen for a full 28 months. Itasca's water and sewer rates are higher than our neighbors, because our community is far older than many of our surrounding towns. Itasca celebrated its centennial in 1990, while Roselle celebrated their centennial last year, and Wooddale still has 5 years until it reaches 100. So not only is our town older, our infrastructure is older. In many places, our water and sanitary systems are reaching the end of their useful life, and we have been making progress replacing them. Replacing this infrastructure is costly, and unlike home rule communities, we have few options to raise revenue from alternative sources to fund these improvements. So for now, the village's utility rates must pay not only for current operations, but also for capital improvements that are needed because of the age of the system. So the point of the water and sewer rate study is to assess the current rates and determine whether they are fairly structured to cover the costs of providing water services to residents and businesses. The study will independently analyze the cost of providing utility services, including expenses related to infrastructure, operations, and maintenance. And it also considers factors such as projected population growth, future capital projects, and revenue from other sources. The goal of the study is to determine an appropriate rate structure that ensures the long-term financial sustainability of our water system while also being fair and equitable to our customers. In addition to the water rate study, the village board recently approved the acquisition of new water meters and an automatic meter reading system for its water utility customers. This investment in new technology is part of the village's ongoing efforts to improve water service, provide better customer service, and increase transparency regarding rates and usage. The new water meters will replace mechanical meters that are more than 20 years old. The new automated meter reading system eliminates the need for manual reading by utility personnel and will provide customers with real-time data on their water usage. This will give residents greater control over their water consumption and help them identify ways to conserve and save money on their water bills. And while we are talking about water, I am happy to report that every resident who wanted their lead service lines replaced was able to get them replaced at zero cost. Grant funds were secured by the village to give every homeowner in Itasca who had a lead service line the opportunity to replace these private lead lines and gain peace of mind that their water would forever be safe to drink. And while we're on the topics of grants, so let me cover a few of the other highlights. So on top of the $3.7 million we secured for our lead line replacements, $5.8 million was secured for road projects, $1 million for pedestrian safety projects, $600,000 for a joint project with the Park District connecting Spring Lake Business Park to new improvements near the Itasca Park District ball fields and the Ray Franzen Bird Sanctuary, $500,000 for stormwater improvements, $100,000 for improvements at the Itasca Food Pantry facility, $100,000 from the Regional Transportation Authority for technical assistance related to the creation of the downtown plan, and $72,000 in public safety grants for new body-worn and in-car cameras. So over the past few years, the village has secured more than $11 million in grant funds for our local projects. That's a testament to the leadership of Administrator Ergo and the diligence of the entire team at the Village of Itasca, including Director of Police Robert O'Connor, Public Works Director Mike Subers, Community Development Director VJ Gotti, Finance Director Jennifer Ramsey, and our village engineer Mark Wazalowski. So please stand and be recognized. So road improvements continue to be a priority of the village board. Work's continuing on Bloomingdale Road, which I'm pleased to say is scheduled to be finished up late May. This project's involved a complete reconstruction of the road, including resurfacing, new pavement markings, new curbing, and improved drainage. The village is also in the midst of our latest roadway and infrastructure project on the north side of town. It includes several important upgrades, such as the installation of new storm sewers, which will help reduce the incidence of flooding during the rain events. Additionally, the replacement of 80-year-old water mains will improve the water distribution system's reliability and efficiency, ensuring that residents have access to clean and safe drinking water for years to come. And the new 2.5 miles of curbs will help contain stormwater and decrease overland flooding while improving traffic flow and pedestrian safety. And the last significant road construction project occurring in the village this year is at Park, Pierce, and Devon. Pre-pandemic, it often took employees up to 20 minutes during rush hour to exit Hamilton Lakes Business Park and traverse to Route 53. This project, which is slated to begin later this month, involves significant intersection improvements, which will improve safety and mobility at the intersection, reduce congestion, and enhance the overall appearance of the area. The safety and security of our community remains a top priority for the village and our police department. This year, the police department has made several technology investments to enhance public safety. One of the most notable investments is the purchase of body-worn cameras for our officers, which will be rolled out later this summer. The cameras will help improve transparency, accountability, and trust between our police officers and the community. Another key technology investment by the police department is license plates readers. These readers will allow for the rapid identification of vehicles that may be involved in criminal activity, including stolen vehicles or those linked to Amber Alerts. This technology has already proven to be an effective tool in preventing and solving crimes. Community engagement is also a priority for the Itasca Police Department this year. This summer, they will be reintroducing the Cop Card program, which provides a fun and interactive way for the officers to engage with children and build positive relationships with them. Additionally, the police department will once again be hosting its Citizens Police Academy to give community members a better understanding of law enforcement and its role in our community. If you're interested in enrolling that, you can go on our website and there's a sheet or a sign-up sheet. The police department would also be hosting National Night Out on August 1st. This event is an opportunity for residents to interact with our officers, learn about safety and crime prevention, and celebrate the sense of community that makes Itasca such a great place to live. And in addition to National Night Out, there are many exciting events on the horizon, including the village's annual Memorial Day Parade, which will be held on the south side of town again this year due to road construction on the north side. The Highland Games will also be returning before the pandemic to Hamilton Lakes on June 16th and 17th. And of course, the village will host its annual 4th of July fireworks show on the 4th. But none of these events would be possible without the support and partnership of the Park District, School District, Fire District, and our Library District. So thank you all for your help and cooperation. And leaders in other communities are often amazed by the high level of collaboration that does exist between local governments in Itasca. Instead of functioning like silos, we actively look for ways to work together for the benefit of our residents. For example, the Nature Center Boardwalk Improvement Project is a joint effort between the village and the Park District to replace the existing boardwalk at the Nature Center. This project, which is currently underway, will provide a safer and more accessible boardwalk for visitors to enjoy the natural beauty of the wetlands and the forest preserves. The pedestrian walkway through the Spring Lake Business Park is another example of a successful collaboration between the village and the Park District. This project involves the construction of a pedestrian pathway and bridge that will connect the bird sanctuary and the Spring Lake Business Park to one another. The walkway will provide a safe and accessible route for residents and employees to access the ball fields and the bird sanctuary and also get to the business park. If you like long walks, you also somewhat connected back to the village because you can safely get to the nature center and then actually into downtown Itasca. So it kind of all connects, finishes the connection there. And it basically will encourage more people hopefully to enjoy the natural beauty of that area. The Village of Itasca and the Fire District also have a strong collaboration and partnership. Currently, the Fire District is in the process of setting up a mobile unit and bunkhouse at our Public Works campus. And this is a temporary solution to respond to the anticipated delays from the recently approved Canadian Pacific Kansas City Southern Railway merger. And the merger, as Chris had talked about, between Canadian Pacific and Kansas City Southern has been a major issue for the Village of Itasca and other communities that will be directly impacted by a 400% increase in freight traffic on the Metro tracks. The approval of the merger earlier this year creates the first continuous rail network connecting Canada, the United States, and Mexico. Serious concerns continue to exist regarding the potential impacts this merger will have on the environment, public safety, and our local economies. Early on, the Village of Itasca took the lead in bringing communities together to raise awareness about the potential negative consequences of the merger and require Canadian Pacific to provide the mitigations and monitoring of its impacts. The communities formed the Coalition to Stop CPKC. And a result of their advocacy, the Surface Transportation Board did mandate the preservation of quiet zones along the line, several technology improvements, and an unprecedented 7-year period of oversight and monitoring. Unfortunately, these measures do not go far enough to protect our community, so the coalition is now pivoting with a more focused mission to advocate for our residents by keeping pressure on the STB, federal and state officials to implement and fund necessary mitigations and to hold CPKC accountable for the impacts in our area throughout the oversight period. As the fight continues, Itasca remains united in advocating for the best interests of our residents. And I want to thank Fire District President Chris Kunze and Fire Chief Jack Schneidwind for their continued support in that fight. I also want to thank our partners at DuPage County, State Senator Seth Lewis and Representative Jennifer Sanalitro, U.S. Senators Dick Durbin and Tammy Duckworth for continuing to stand with us. And finally, there has been no greater advocate in the fight against CPKC than Itasca's U.S. Representative Raja Krishnamurthy, who testified in Washington, D.C., and has been with us every step of the way. So I am grateful for each of their support. I could easily go on and on and on about the great things going on in Itasca, but my guess is you all have some questions, so let me conclude with this. Just 2 years ago, I gave this address to a mostly empty room due to the COVID mandates. And I stared down the camera and I promised that I would do everything in my power as mayor to ensure that our town emerged from COVID stronger. And I'm so proud today to report that thanks to the dedication from staff, the support of the village board, the tenacity of local businesses, and the patience and persistence of all of you, our residents, we have persevered. We are stronger and our future is brighter than ever. I'm honored to serve you as mayor, and I am grateful that you choose to continue to call Itasca home. Together, we will continue to make sure that Itasca is well positioned to thrive now and in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Two quick things. The second data center that's being built, is that a Prospect in Thorndale?
No,
The
it's,
Commonwealth Edison property?
no, it's right behind that. The building going up at the Commonwealth Edison is a support building for the center. The second data center is going directly behind the current one, and the third one will be in front of the current one.
And this could save maybe the village a lot of money. I know we spend so much money on the Lake Michigan water. Have you ever thought of getting the water from Springbrook Creek? It's close.
It is.
Okay. I had to lead with this question. For the Park District, sorry, Linda. Why can't the seniors get a larger discount at the pool that live in Itasca?
Oh, I don't know. Well, I think this question comes up, usually it's the walking track, but now we've shifted it to the pool. We don't really have a specific explanation for it. When you look at the overall cost of the operation of the pool never makes money. Every year, we're in deficit with the pool. You can have, like last summer, the perfect weather. You can have masses of people. But do you know what the price of lifeguards have gone up? It's the state law. They're making more money than some adults are making because it is law. And the need for more lifeguards for our kiddie pool, since we redid that, we need more guards there. You have the water slide, you have the diving tanks. It just takes more people to staff it. So we don't make money on the pool, so we try to recoup some of it through our fees. Our non-resident fees, they've been adjusted this year, and our regular fees have been adjusted. So that's the best explanation I have come up with why we don't charge, or we charge as much for seniors and residents that we do. Sorry.
I'll stop asking that question every year, okay? Okay. For the school district, bear with me on this. Is the district following any or all of the guidelines mentioned in the news? For example, late work can be handed in anytime, no penalty for turning in work 50% being the lowest grade that you can be given, any gender options, discussions, etc.?
I'm going to throw this to Mr. Bennis, but before that, when it comes to some of the things you hear in the news that are controversial, those things are usually political, and we don't let politics into our classroom. We make our decisions on our curriculum based on peer-reviewed studies and data, and so a lot of the things you hear on the news doesn't really filter in like you would see in some of the bigger cities or you hear in some towns. But for the rest of it, Mr. Bennis, if you could pick it up.
No, we don't necessarily follow what you hear on the news. We do not adhere to the national sex education standards, although there's many components of it that are good. Those particular standards we don't follow. We follow the state standards. In regards to grading policy and homework weighting and when you can turn it in, it's really nuanced and depends on the needs of the student. And the largest ethic that we apply to that is to support our students to success.
Can I add to that first? Well, you mentioned the sex education standards. There were many good things in the new standards that were presented to schools from the state, and our goal is to always improve and to grow, right? So the things we teach like that, there'll be new data come out, and we use the new data, and we evolve our curriculum based on the data. So just because we don't implement everything doesn't mean we're not doing growth and improvement.
For the mayor, can we have parking on one side of the street from Catalpa, on Catalpa, from the train tracks to around the S-curve to Division Street?
We could certainly look at that. Is that two-way parking now, Mike, do you know? Because, okay. I mean, we can look at that and see if it makes sense to, we get pushback sometimes when we try to limit parking on one side, but if it makes sense, we can certainly consider that.
For the mayor, maybe you can answer this one. Are any taxes being paid to Itasca from Haymarket, seeing there is nothing being done on the property?
Haymarket is currently paying property taxes. I don't know how much they're paying, so that we are getting some money through their property tax. They did apply for tax exemption, and the taxing bodies here in Itasca did fight it because they're not using the building for a tax exempt purpose at that location. That had gone all the way to hearing at DuPage County. They didn't officially rule, but the word was that they were going to lose, and so then they pulled the application for tax exemption. So they do currently pay some property tax.
For the Park District, do you anticipate difficulty in staffing lifeguards for the pool season this year?
There definitely is a shortage of lifeguards. Anyone that's been watching the news, we do. If any of you have any kids or grandchildren who are age 15 and over, we are still hiring. But Griffin, who's our new aquatic supervisor, he is very confident we're going to have enough staff. But We offer bonuses for the kids if they work the whole summer, and we do start hiring at 15. So, and we will take up to any age. So come one, come all.
Do you have to know how to swim?
Yes.
There was a job fair at Lake Park, and we had, Griffin was there, and a couple other people were there. So we did get some applications from Lake Park. So that was, at least we got a little bit from the local, the kids. Again, they make more money than some of us.
I think this is for the mayor. What kind of offenses does it take for an LPR camera to have a hit from the camera?
Bob, can you answer that?
On? Okay. So, yeah, there's some state statutory regulations that require what can go on to what's called a hot list or a hit. Mentioned earlier was the idea of a stolen vehicle. It could be a person wanted on a felony warrant. It could be a crime that just occurred that is considered a forcible felony. So they're pretty serious offenses. It's not used for just traffic enforcement.
This is for, I guess, to the Park District and to the village. The winter lighting display in Usher Park was wonderful. Is there a possibility of doing a similar display for spring and/or fall seasons?
Right now, we have not looked into that.
I would say due to the cost, that once a year, I think is costly enough, and it would be hard to justify expansion of it.
Right, and it is up for 6 weeks, and as I mentioned earlier, with the sponsorship money, there will be a couple new pieces added, and it's going to be relocated too. It's not going to be the same pattern every year. So what you might have missed this year, you'll see it next year. So it's something to look forward to. You don't want to have it season after season, so it's something to look forward to in the dead of winter. Thanks.
For the school district, and you touched on this, what sex education is taught in second grade in our schools? And the second question is, how large are our classes, K through 5?
Class sizes, we have class size guidelines. They're approximately 20 for Benson, 23 for Franzen, and about 25, 26 for Peacock. That's the reality. The guidelines are a little bit higher. For sex education standards, I don't know them by grade, but generally for Benson, second grade, it's more the beginning of body awareness. Once again, we don't adhere to all the national sex education standards. We follow the state standards.
For the mayor, and you did talk some on this, will Itasca take another look at getting home rule? And is the new digital sign coming to the village hall soon?
The digital sign is the easy part of that question. We have put that, it was approved in the budget to get that replaced sooner rather than later. There was some issues with insurance coverage, but we're past that, and hopefully, do we have any idea, Carrie Ann, when the sign could be up?
Most likely by midsummer.
Okay. And as far as home rule, if I have my way, I'd love to do it, but that's really gonna probably have to be, what does the community want? I think it would be helpful to our community, but we have tried it twice, and we have lost by thin margins. But if anyone is interested in running with that campaign, I'd be more than willing to talk to you.
For the mayor, when will the village bring Willow Street into this century? It's a cow path since I moved here in 1969.
Willow Street, I'm assuming maybe north of Bryn Mawr. We have plans. When is that planned to be? That's which phase in our improvements is that? To
I
get
believe
curb and
it's
gutter?
in phase 5
Okay,
of the, yeah.
So there is a plan to get it. I can't tell you. It'll be within this century. I can guarantee that. We do have a plan to complete all the road projects. Currently, we're in phase 2.
Yep, we're in phase 2 of 5 right now.
Yeah, and we need to find funding for 3, 4, and 5. We will probably take next year off due to some, I know that we've gone through a lot of road construction, and we need to give not only the residents, but the village budget a little bit of a break. But during that year of hiatus, we're going to go out and try to find the funding to complete the project.
I remember when there were cows at the end of Willow Street at Thorndale, the Forky Farm. For the fire department, I heard someone was charged $5,000 for their granddaughter's ambulance. Why does the fire department charge?
I'm going to throw this one over to the chief. He's had direct discussions with the group that was involved.
So we do have to charge for ambulance service. It's part of our ordinance. For residents who live in town, there is no balance billing, so whatever the insurance company pays, there's no fee associated with that once that's paid. For non-residents, though, we do require that they pay what the ordinance requires, and I have been in contact with the family to try and work out a solution for them.
For the mayor, and you've talked on some of this already, what changes can we expect with the Canadian Pacific merger?
You know, I'm going to, Carrie Ann's the coalition chairwoman, so I'm going to let her speak on that.
So Canadian Pacific has reported that over a 3-year period of time, the amount of trains running down the line will go from what was about 2 to 3 trains a day to somewhere between 11 and 14 trains a day. They're also going freight trains, and so there's also obviously still the metro trains that will run on that line. Trains are also going to extend in length. Most will be over 2 miles long when they go through the area, and as they come in, this is going to affect more coming into the Bensonville yard than going out of the Bensonville yard. Braking starts shortly before Itasca, so the trains coming through, because it's only about 2 miles from the edge of Itasca to the Bensonville yard where they have to come to a complete stop. So because the trains are that long, braking will start earlier, so they'll be slower through Itasca than they were previously. You're also likely to see a significant change in the types of cars that are run on the trains. Where previously you saw primarily box cars on the trains, you're going to be seeing, you will likely see much more petroleum and other fuel cars on that train. So those are some of the impacts that are going to be seen. I think the good news is, if there is good news, because this was a $31 billion merger, it was a massive federal priority to put this through, is that the STB did really require some pretty significant monitoring, and has pledged that if the communities can show that there were impacts, that Canadian Pacific, we can go back and petition the STB to provide additional funding to mitigate those impacts. But this is a big deal for these communities. There has been a question, and if I can just have one more minute here, because people have asked, like, well, how is that going to impact downtown development? Will anybody want to come? And the answer to that question is, I generally say yes, because what we're experiencing here on this metro line is what people who live on the BNSF line and other lines in the Chicago area already experience on those lines in some cases. It's just never been on this line before because we're only dual tracked, and those are triple track lines. But the actual incidence of the freight on the tracks doesn't generally impact transit-oriented development in suburbs. If somebody wants to live near town, they choose to live near town, and they kind of put up with the noise from the train. So I hope that answers the question.
This is for the police or the fire department. Has anything been discussed on an emergency shelter with backup power? Yeah, I think that's for people, residents that may need a place to go if they don't have power or heat.
So on a short-term basis, anytime there's, where weather impacts the police department, becomes a repository for those temperatures when they start to exceed 100, and when there is temperatures that are in the freezing to sub-zero. Should you not have heat or conditioning, we are open 24/7, 365, of course, and you would merely have to come to the police lobby, and we would make those arrangements for you internally here.
Wow, overnight in a cell.
A little nicer.
Oh, okay. Be good to have your cell phone, though, huh? Ooh, okay. Park District. Why is the Park District claiming budget cuts on the youth athletic uniforms? Last year, teams received jerseys and pants, where this year only received T-shirts. Claim money was saved for umpires, but umpires have not been at the games.
That honestly is something I will have to look into. I do know that Sandy unfortunately isn't here today from our rec department, but with athletics, I know it has been absolutely horrendous trying to get umpires. We used to hire kids, 15, 16, 17 years old, and that does not happen anymore. So I know right now they had to go through several new umpire referee companies that are costing us about $40 to $50 for each game if the umpires actually show up. So actually, I do know that they just switched companies for our baseball program in particular. I do know that certain levels it is only for T-shirts, and other levels it does include the shirts and pants. So if you have any other questions, I'll be here afterwards, whoever wrote it, and I can talk to you more about it.
For the Park District, what is the project being done at Raymond Franzen Bird Sanctuary? I know we got the grant money.
We are doing an extension of the boardwalk. They're going to go, is it farther south? West. Okay, Mary Fran's going to do the details.
So that project's approximately a $1.4 million project that we received $600,000 in grant money towards, as was mentioned. We're going to be doing another loop on the boardwalk on the west side that goes closer to Rowling Road, that goes through the wetlands that are there. We'll also be adding an outlook that you'll be able to walk up to, and you'll be able to walk up. We're also going to do some extensive work on the ball fields themselves. Those ball fields were built in 1991, and those of you who play softball out there know that they've seen their day, so we're going to upgrade those. We're also working with the county to bring water to that site to help irrigate the fields also. And we will be doing a connection on the east side that will go in between the wastewater treatment plant that just reopened, and the cell tower. And there'll be a pathway that comes to kind of dead ends, and then that's where the additional pedestrian walkway will be built to go over the creek that will connect to the business district on the north side.
This is going to be for the police department. What are the laws regarding use under 16 riding mini bikes or electric bikes down the sidewalk or streets?
So this question actually got answered at a recent village board meeting. We've encumbered a village ordinance this year. We work with the village legal department, and we look for model policies on this matter. We're not trying to discourage kids and adults to utilize both the sidewalks and the streets in the newfound modus of operandus. But it was becoming actually at times dangerous for both the motoring public as well as the pedestrian public. So there is an ordinance. There's a newsletter article that will be in the upcoming newsletter coming out the end of this month. It's got the details involved. Thanks.
For the mayor, where is the police, maybe for the police department, you can stay there. Where is the police presence on Walnut Street and Bryn Mawr to elevate some of the stop sign roaming and speeding, exclamation point 3 times?
So we're very responsive. If in fact there's been an identified traffic matter, immediately a call to the police department will generate the response by the sergeant who oversees the traffic enforcement. I know we've had the speed limit sign out there of recency, and I know we've actually had what we call fixed patrols out there. So this is ringing a bell. But like anything else, we can't be there all the time. We have other commitments. So, we will continue to, monitor that area. We have no problem doing that. And call again. So, as a reminder, but we try to be everywhere all the time, and sometimes it just gets to be a little convoluted, but we will always do our best.
For the mayor, plans, what are your plans, what are the plans for vacant buildings and lots as you come into town? It's like the gateway into Itasca, some of the entryways.
What's the plans for those?
Are there any plans
For homes that are on the entryway?
for anything? I think they could be talking like the old Flag Gardens, that's vacant, or it could be like the Mug Pub area, could be,
There are no real plans for those areas. If you're talking about at Irving and Rolling, we have talked about a possible TIF district out in that area. We're not at that point yet. That is a privately owned lot he has had some initial contact with the village. I think he's looking for, really what he wants the village to do is to condemn the property where the Foremost Liquors are, and we just haven't been, done that yet. So he's probably waiting on the village. I don't know if that day will ever come. There could be a day when we look at a TIF, but we're not there yet.
it's for the village, bear with me here. Do you know if a second lane south of 390 Thorndale Road overpass on Arlington Heights Road going south will get a second lane added to it? The rainwater tends to stand on the one lane.
We had talked about that there was some talk about extending that lane on the south side. Whatever happened with that? I know there was some discussions with the tollway. Or is that part of the Arlington Heights Road project, Carrie Ann?
Okay, help me again where we're talking about. Repeat that.
Basically Thorndale and Arlington Heights Road, south of there.
The
Kind of by the
underpass.
Sanyo building.
By the Sanyo building,
There is
that's
two lanes
right
for a
there.
small portion of it, but there was at one time talk about maybe extending that, and I don't really.
There
recall
was, so the talk about extending it is they determined that there wasn't enough
okay.
right-of-way to extend it there, and they thought it would exacerbate the flooding in the area, well, not the flooding, the standing water in the area.
Kids age 10 and up?
Well, all of our playgrounds have equipment that accommodate children that age and under. And every park, by every school, every park has some equipment that is geared for our younger children and for the older children as well. The one right by the rec center, that basically is for the younger children, as you can tell by the apparatus. But on other parks, like the one at Franzen School, that was designed with the kids in mind because they all go there and they're all in that age group.
Again, for the Park District, are there any plans to expand the Park District Recreation Center to add an additional gymnasium or extra gymnastic space? With so many youth sports, the area seems to be booked continuously.
Right now, we don't have any plans to expand the rec center.
For the mayor, can the police patrol our street in the evening more, especially Willow Court by the townhomes? Last night alone, we had 4 houses that had kids ringing doorbells and running. I haven't done that in 60 years. I'm innocent.
I mean, the chief heard the thing, we'll do it, but again, they can't be everywhere, and we have had some issues with the ding-dong ditch. I don't know how we truly handle it. The kids have even got smart enough now to cover their faces as they're ringing the Ring doorbells, so we'll do our best. But
For the mayor or for the fire department, will the railroad provide Itasca with police and fire facilities north of the tracks?
not unless they're mandated to, which they have not been yet. So my answer is probably no. I think Congressman Krishnamurthy's offer as a grant is probably the best we're going to get.
For the mayor, is it on the schedule for North Street, and Cherry Street to get curbs anytime soon?
Yes, it's on the schedule anytime soon. I would say within the next 5 years, it will happen. I just don't know what.
I think they're phase 4, if I remember correctly. Yeah, they're phase 4.
I may not live that long. Mayor, does the village get fees from the railroad traffic? If we do, what are the plans for the increased fees?
We do not get any fees from the railroad traffic.
For the fire, does the village have to have the full cost of the second firehouse, or is the railroad or state pitching in? That's only if we get a grant, right?
Yeah, the grant's the best shot we have at assistance to the cost of the North Firehouse.
From the mayor, any updates? You gave some on the commercial development in town, i.e. like with the old Starbucks, the condo building on Orchard Street and Keene's building acquisition?
Well, I did mention about the Full of Beans is going to open up the end of June. The Starbucks or the Keene's building is, it's scheduled to close June 30th. We have not heard anything from Mr. Keene if he's looking to extend that. He wants to retire, so my guess is that will happen. And we have had interest in that building, but we haven't talked with anybody because we don't own it.
And I don't think you can talk on this one. Any Haymarket updates?
No Haymarket update other than it's in the court system and the Department of Justice. And Chuck, anything you can add to that, or? Okay.
Just so the community understands, Haymarket did file a lawsuit. It was quite a while ago, and the fire district and the school district filed motions to dismiss. Those motions have been pending in the federal court for more than 1 year, and we're just waiting for the court to make a decision on those motions to dismiss. And so all we can do is wait with respect to that. Nothing else is happening. But when those motions are decided, things will get rolling again. And then as far as the Department of Justice, they opened an investigation a year and a half ago, and they have the choice of joining the lawsuit or filing suit against Itasca. That has not occurred as of yet, but they are continuing with their investigation, and it's taking a long time. So that's the legal status of the Haymarket matter. Yes, the administrator wants me you to know that the Village of Itasca has produced over 90,000 pages of documents to the Department of Justice. So even though things have taken a while, you got to collect all those documents, review them, submit them, and then they have to process them as well. So there's quite a bit of work that is being done while we're waiting for the motions to dismiss to be decided as well.
For the mayor, will there be anything done to eliminate the large water puddle that occurs curbside at 420 South Princeton Avenue? There's a curbside drain on the east side of the street, but obviously not on the west side.
You maybe take a look at that, Mike, or if you know about the issue, 420 Princeton?
Yeah, we're actually aware of that area is prone to flooding through some larger rain events. It is a low spot, and we do have some preliminary plans to extend some storm sewer work. If you remember, 6-7 years ago, we did some south side stormwater improvements. There were actually another few phases to go on that to improve the south side drainage, Princeton being one of those areas. But the village decided to focus their attention on putting curb and gutter in and doing some other projects because not that many people are impacted by it right now, and it only does occur during flash flood events, though. So.
For the Park District, will a path be available next to the addition to Benson to walk to the Park District? The neighbors east of the school has been unfriendly as folks walk to the Park District.
that would be on the property owner's land. So we're unable to extend a walkway through private property.
Okay. For the mayor, is the old Alpha building being torn down, or does the village have a plan to buy it?
No plan to buy it. There has been a demolition permit issued. From what I understand is it would have been torn down today, but they couldn't be with inclement weather, so the village has been in contact with the building owner and the contractor, and we expect it to come down sometime this week, weather permitting.
For the Park District, where is the Memorial Day Parade? Can you give the route?
Okay, it's in the brochure that you all got. No, it goes, you take on Washington, once you get to Princeton, you go south, right? And then you go west.
Do you want me to read it?
Okay,
Okay, this question was asked last year also. So, and this last time I had my staff bring it, but hopefully my glasses are working. So, we are going to be stepping off at 9:30 a.m. at the corner of Washington and Princeton Avenue, heading south. It will continue west on George Street, north on Oak Street, east on Washington Street, north on Walnut Street, ending at the corner of Walnut Street and Bloomingdale Road. And we will have our ceremony at Usher Park right afterwards. It is on our website. It's also on the village's website as well, and it's in our Park District brochure that came out.
For the village, second part of that question, and I did not write this, are there any plans to build a fire station or on the Bank of America property, or where else on the north side? I guess that's for the fire district.
Yeah, I could say it's not the Bank of America building because they looked at that and it wasn't feasible, but if you want to.
Right, yeah, there's no plans, and that really wouldn't help us anyways. It's south of the tracks. We already have the main station. So it's important that we have a location on the north side of the tracks.
There was a question on more information on home rule, but I know you covered that very thoroughly. For the mayor, what is the status of the downtown redevelopment? Will more entertainment options be added in the next 1 to 2 years?
I don't know what you technically mean by entertainment. I think we're looking at maybe increasing some events at Usher Park, so in that pace it will, or that phase it will be. There are some plans, certainly if the Holiday property goes in, there was already a letter of intent to put a restaurant in there on the first floor. Certainly several of the options that have been discussed or have come to us about Keen's Bakery have been entertainment restaurant type facilities, so I do believe we're going to have some more options in the next couple of years.
For the mayor, and I know you talked about this, but you can maybe go into a little more in depth. Why do you feel that Itasca needs a TIF? I feel it only allows government to be more involved in private business. Don't we already have too much government in our life?
The answer to that is probably we do have too much government. The TIF is important for a couple, and again, it kind of, as I had said, it allows us to provide needed public improvements to attract the downtown economic development. And I think it's actually good for the taxpayer because we can do those improvements without having to raise property taxes. The increment in the property taxes is paid for by the owners of those properties inside the district. That basically they freeze the dollar level of taxes going to the different taxing bodies. Any increase then goes into the TIF pot to be used for public improvements. And if there's anything extra, we can actually pay those back to the taxing bodies.
This is shameful advertising. To the mayor, is it true that the Itasca Lions Club is holding their pancake breakfast this Saturday at St. Luke's from 6:30 to 11?
Yes, it is true. I'm sure you all got that in your little postcard in the mail.
For the mayor, what are the specific plans for Walnut Street and the Catalpa corridors in 2023? Is there any plans coming up this year?
I mean, I don't know if they mean construction or development. I'm assuming they're talking about across the street on Catalpa and downtown redevelopment. We do have Full of Beans is opening up in June. I think the holiday property, although you won't see any activity in 2023, I think if that gets approved, they will probably break ground sometime in the springtime. There's been some very preliminary discussions about across the street, but nothing firm and no plans to date.
For the school district, are there any plans to host an open house for the community to walk through the school improvements made possible through the referendum funding?
Absolutely. We'll be doing that at the end of the summer and the fall.
Thank you. For the mayor, speeding has been a huge issue with the summer coming. Kids will be out playing. What can we do to keep everyone safe? North Willow has cars driving 45 miles per hour at times.
I'll let the chief answer that.
So and when we're notified of it, we will have a saturated patrol in that area at the various times. I also wanted to make mention that on the 25th of this month, Thursday the 25th, I'm going to have an open house up here from 6 to 8, and you can come and ask anything you want of the police department that we are currently doing, future plans, equipment. I'll have several of the officers up here with those opportunities. But getting back to the question, you need to let us know. I mean, 911 will get us the information. It gets in the hands of the personnel that's responsible for this type of assignment, and we'll be out there.
So in this meeting, Willow Street has gone from a cow path to a speed track. That's a busy street. For the mayor, Roselle celebrated their centennial by commissioning a large outdoor mosaic commemorating various historical aspects of their village. Could Itasca Commission do something similar in our new downtown?
We certainly could, and we will write that down as an idea, and we'll look into it.
For the mayor, with the addition of many luxury apartments and condos, what is the village plan to ensure that residents at all income levels have access to housing that is affordable from various income levels, for various income levels?
Do you want to handle that, Carrie Ann?
Yeah. So one of the things that in kind of moving forward with the downtown plan that we did is actually did a survey of not only downtown, but also around town. And, we actually have a really good mix of affordability in town, both in rental and ownership options. So while this is going to be kind of a luxury, this is intended to be a luxury apartment complex, and we have one other of those. We also have several affordable, what would be considered more affordable housing, large complexes in the area, as well as mid-size. So we're pretty confident that we're hitting on most of, all of the different economic strata in order to serve all of the community.
I'm down to about 6 questions here, so we're going to have time for everything. For the mayor, the alley or easement between the homes on the 400 block of North Walnut and North Elm Street are being used or blocked by multiple homeowners. Aren't these supposed to be kept open?
400 block of North Elm and Walnut, you said?
Yeah, the alleys.
They are supposed to be kept open, I would say, if someone, and maybe Bob, you can have someone, the patrol kind of at it, but if you do see that, certainly call the police in there, because those are public roads and they're supposed to be kept open.
For the mayor, why must Itasca tear down historic buildings for new developments? Holiday properties, this development should have been encouraged rather than Irving Park and Catalpa at northeast corner.
Well, I mean, any development, and again, we encourage certain development, so I don't want to say we're totally out of the loop, but yet these are privately owned properties, and as far as Orchard and Walnut, certainly the house that you would think is historical, Dr. Scheck's old building, that was built in the 80s and is not historical. There was some minor historical significance with the building right on the corner of Orchard and Walnut. And by state law, the owner of the property or the developer had to offer that, someone to take the property free of charge. As far as I know, no one took them up on that offer, so.
So Mayor, I could just add a couple things to that. So the property will be documented, but actually the village, when we first started discussing with Holiday Properties the possibility of coming here, we did not identify this property. We actually identified a property off Irving Park Road that we were looking at with them. Again, it's a private developer. They have choices about where they're gonna go. They decided that the location that we originally approached them about was not where they wanted to be for their business model. And they went out and found the two properties that were there, and had discussions with the property owners, you know, outside of the village as far as going there. So again, when the village goes out and approaches developers, we're approaching them a lot of times about a specific property or an area of properties, but ultimately developers decide where they want to be locating, and they have to come up with that private transaction between them and the property owners. And so they were able to reach agreement in that area.
For the mayor, what's going on at Casali's? They don't seem to be serving dinner, but more of an appetizer bar venue.
You know, again, that's a privately owned business. Again, I can attest that I don't see many people going in there for dinner, but, you know, I think that was a decision that the property owner made, or the owner of the restaurant.
Just because they like to hear you laugh, when will the village hall sign come back?
This summer.
Yeah, we're hoping midsummer that the sign will be back.
For the mayor, can you give us a little bit more details about Gigi Gruber Lane?
Yes, and I'll start and then carry on if you need to carry on. Basically, the plan would be to vacate Gigi Gruber Lane, but only the portion between Walnut Street, then heading east into Irving Park Road. So it's basically just the little block there by the triangle. And we would put the reinforcements to block off the street so that it was safe, and then we could use that with tables or some sort of plaza that we could use for public purposes. Carrie,
Yeah,
if you wanna
you did
embellish on
great.
that.
In the downtown plan, it was identified as potentially in the future being some sort of a plaza section, so the village needed to go through a process with the state of Illinois to see if that was possible. They have said yes, and now the board has given the go-ahead. So, whether that happens this summer, I think is still a question mark, depending on what kind of events kind of take place this summer, but we'd be looking at doing something on a temporary basis, probably through some, pots and this and that and lights, things like that, something like a charming outdoor plaza sort of thing, and see how it works, make sure it doesn't disrupt the traffic flow too much. And then if it is a good addition to the area, then looking at making it permanent, long going. Since we're talking about Gigi Gruber Lane here, I do want to make one clarification to a question that was asked earlier, and it was about the house that's right there on, I think it's 100 South Walnut that's coming down. I just want to be clear, because the mayor said like the village isn't buying it. The village isn't paying for the cost to tear it down. It's all being privately handled. We just happen to have a conversation with the contractor, because that's what happens when somebody comes in and gets a building permit. So I just wanted to make that clear, that the village doesn't have any costs involved in taking it down or acquisition of the property.
The last question for the mayor. Any additional comments on the Commonwealth Edison construction of the distribution center there at Prospect and Thorndale?
I don't really, it's a building that they came in here for, they needed some variances. They're supposed to host certain components in there for their substation. Being a utility, the village was pretty much at their beck and, we pretty much had to approve whatever they requested. So that is why it is being built there, and might seem a little bit big, but it's just to house components for the substation.
Yes, and it's actually to improve electric reliability. There's not actually additional power generation being done on site, but it's to modernize and make sure that there is enough redundancy in the system that's there currently, moving some things that were outside, inside to provide greater protection. So, and again, to reiterate what Mayor Prine said, those things are actually regulated under state law. So the only thing that the village really had an opportunity to comment on was the screening that went up, the landscaping, the things around it. So other than that, even kind of the plans inside, those aren't plans that they actually run through the village itself for security reasons because they're a power utility.
Quick question here before I wrap up. Will this be available on YouTube for additional viewing if people really like the answers? You can hear them again, but
It's on
it's
YouTube
and
right
it'll be out
now, and
there?
it'll be on there after.
Okay. And we'd like to thank all of our speakers and you, the audience, for your participation in the 35th Shape of Itasca Town Meeting. We look forward to next year's program. Thank you and good night.